It's April 10th, 2025. It was Christmas morning for a whole bunch of folks. Today was the announcement of the competition titles, among other titles, for the Cannes Film Festival. I'm speaking with Kevin Jagernauth. Kevin, how are you doing?
I'm great. How are you doing, man?
Very good. This is a sort of pre-launch to a relaunch of IronCinema.com's podcast called Indie Sponge. So this will be under that bracket, under that umbrella. What I wanted to do with you today is look at the 19 titles that were selected for the competition. Of course, there are going to be more titles to be unveiled next week, potentially maybe two, three, four. Who knows what Thierry Frémaux is up to? But it was a really interesting morning this morning. We were looking at the titles that were selected and also the titles that were potentially snubbed from the fest. What I wanted to do first is look at the competition lineup, all 19 titles. So
hmm
let's begin with the worst kept secret of the competition, which is Wes Anderson's The Phoenician Scheme Focus Features project. The trailer was released last week. Are we surprised at all with this?
No, this was like the probably the one slam dunk you could bet your house on it sort of title for the festival. We had a conversation briefly yesterday where I thought maybe because of how packed the year is, it could slip into out of comp, but I'm not surprised. Yeah, it'll be another trip for Wes Anderson to France. So yeah.
And Wes is currently in Paris, sort of like what Todd Haynes did last year, doing a retrospective of his work. So that's kind of like the early wink leak that something is ruminating. And
hmm
this is one of four American filmmakers in competition. And I think the next person in the lineup is not necessarily a surprise, but it is a first-time visit for Ari Aster. He's there with Eddington. This is a Western featuring Joaquin Phoenix. It's an A24 title. They released some poster art this morning, which I thought was quite amusing. Basically, it makes a lot of sense in terms of his ascension in the larger film sphere, and it's a big deal for him because I don't believe outside of Sundance and his first title that he's been in competition anywhere else.
No, I don't think so. I think it speaks to the confidence that A24 has in the film,
Yeah.
and that probably he has in the film as well. Especially after Beau is Afraid, which was quite divisive. It'll be interesting to see. This film is it's a kind of a Western set in the pandemic, from what I understand. Uh, and it'll be interesting to see how the international critics take to it. And I'm assuming A24 sees it as like kind of like a sales opportunity for them too, to get it up in front of everybody. They're feeling good about it, and hopefully they can spark the rest of the world sales on it.
So what I found really fun this morning was seeing that there was seven filmmakers that would be making their first trip to the competition section. Of course,
Mhm.
there's the master filmmakers that are always present, and that includes the Dardennes. No surprises there.
Mhm.
It's their first home, I should say, or second home. They're presenting Young Mother, and I think there's a lot of films that are touching upon not necessarily motherhood, but the mother young child connection this year.
Yeah.
And it's worth mentioning that they are one of only two filmmakers that are Palme d'Or previous Palme d'Or winners. So odds look pretty good in the odds look in her favor for potentially breaking the record and getting maybe a third one, sight unseen, of course.
Of course.
The other Palme d'Or winner is Alpha. It's Julie Ducournau's third
Yeah.
feature film, set in an 80s New York City escape type thing. Tahar Rahim is in this film, but it centers around an 11-year-old child during the AIDS crisis. And from what I hear, potentially is a divisive films for the selection committee. And so again, it's more or less like Titan. I feel as if there's gonna be a lot of ink spilled on this one, and
Yeah.
potentially it might be a hate him or love him type feature. Are you looking forward to this feature?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Like I love T10. Uh, I'm really curious to see what she does with a film set in the US, particularly during a a pretty monumental moment in US history. Like the 80s, the AIDS crisis was tragic and all of those things. So it'll be interesting to see her vision on that. Um, yeah, and the cast is great. Gola Shafete Farahani, Tahar Rahim, Emma Mackey. So a lot of potential here. And Neon is behind it as
Mhm.
always. They're hoping to grab another Palme d'Or, I'm sure. So
So I
yeah.
believe they have two horses in the race, Jan. We'll get back to that later.
Yep.
The next feature is a sophomore feature from a filmmaker that was in the Un certain regard section with Plan 75, and that's Renoir. It's Chie Hayakawa, and essentially it's about an 11-year-old. We have themes of isolation, early sexuality, but also a dying parent.
Hmm.
And this has sort of been under the radar somewhat. I briefly saw mentions of the project in terms of funding, but Thierry Frémaux has maybe found his new Naomi Kawai maybe.
Yeah. It sure sounds like that. And it's a nice boost for the filmmaker. Plan 75 certainly traveled and got well received. So this is nice to see.
Next up on the list is The History of Sound. This is South African Olivier Herman's title that was picked up by, again, A24, I believe, and that's got Paul Mescal, Josh O'Connor. Um, And no, sorry, it was picked up by Movie. And
Yeah.
so I do know that there was a couple of screenings ahead of time. The film is one of the among all the 19 selections, it's the film that's been spent almost the most time in post. What are your feelings about this film from a filmmaker who'll be making his first trip to the competition?
Interesting premise. You know, it's set in the early 1900s. The actors are great. I mean, it seems like a slam dunk on paper, but as we always know, anything can happen. So I'm curious about it. I'm curious to see how it unfolds and to see how this story of two men falling in love in the summer in rural New England uh, goes. It sounds, I mean, on paper, it sounds like right up my alley. So we'll see. Yeah.
Next up is another person making her first trip to the competition section. She might have been there as an actress before, but it's Hafsia Herzi with La
Mhm.
Dernière, and she's actually been to the Un certain regard section twice previously. So this is three for three for her. It's from what I gather, it's a book to film adaptation. It's produced by some really cool French producers. And again, it's Thierry Frémaux getting behind. Um, like the last couple of years, I think with Ducournau, to some extent, Justin Trier, and
Mm.
I think Payel Capadia last year. I think he's getting behind singular auteur voices that happen to be of the female gender. And this is one of those examples where they really supported her from the grounds up. Do you have any feelings towards what we might find here?
No, I mean, I kind of echo your sentiments. Actually, her previous two films were Critics Week, Certain Regard, and then Conk, and
Yes,
then now
yes.
Conk. So yeah, like you say, it's she's being really supported in her filmmaking journey with the festival. I mean, and this movie is about a teen sort of coming of age and discovering her sexuality in a French Algerian family. So it's some really rich themes to play with, and another title that I think outside of the big starry titles is nice to see in the competition lineup.
Spain is well represented this year. We've got two titles from the country. Olivier Laxe is
Hmm.
presenting Sirat. And he's one of those filmmakers that is essentially did the not the trifecta, but the perfecta, I believe is how you pronounce it, with a film in every single major section. So he's been to Critics Week, he's been to Directors Fortnight or something regard, and for this fourth feature, he's in the competition section. It looks like something that where the backdrop really contributes to the overall sense of space and time. Are you a Lax fan? Are you familiar with
I
early?
have not seen his films at
Okay.
all. Just one of those things. They've just like passed me by. But this one, I was doing research this morning before we got on this had this conversation, and I don't know if it's lost in translation or maybe I'm just not connecting the dots. I need more caffeine, but it's about like raves in the desert, which to me suggests something that's going to be visually striking, uh, which I don't know if that's part of his milieu, but
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Think so. And speaking of visually striking, potentially, well, it will be in black and white, potentially a 4:3 ratio. It's Richard Linklater's second trip to the competition section with Nouvelle Vague, New Wave. I was sort of like thinking that this might be out of competition, but no, City did go ahead with Linklater, and it's a special year for Linklater. Uh, the fact that he premiered and played extremely well in Berlin with his last feature, and now he's here in competition with his latest feature. Are you excited about revisiting Godard and all that stuff?
Yeah, I mean, this is like movies about movies are always tricky.
Hmm.
Uh, like we've had this sort of film with Radio Tab like
Yes.
not that long ago, a few years ago. So I'm curious, but like I to be honest, I'm a little nervous about how good this may or may not be. It's stacked with like it's a huge cast, it's taking on an iconic film movement. My fear is that it could become parody or pass or strain or parody when it's not meant to be. So curious, but keeping my have some reservations.
From a filmmaker that gave us My Joy, several documentary films, he's returning to fiction. It's Sergei Loznitsa.
Hmm.
Two prosecutors. It's something that appeared on my radar fairly late last year. And yeah, I don't know too much about the project, but it's a Latvian, France, Germany, Netherlands, and Romania co-production. What are your feelings about this film?
So this one's based on a novel actually by Georgy Demidov. It's set during the Stalin terror and yeah, about two prosecutors. Loznitsa, he's a filmmaker. He's made so much that I've seen maybe a third of everything he's done, and I think mostly the documentaries. So for him to returning with a feature film and having it in comp means that the programmers feel very strongly about it. So I'm very curious about this one. Very excited for it.
Feels very contained just by the one still that I have seen.
Hmm.
Going back into the past once again is Mario Maratone's Fuori, which is a biodrama set in 1980s Rome with Valeria Galino. It's his third feature in competition. I'm not overly familiar with him. He came last came to Cannes with Nostalgia a couple years back. It's been sort of like mentioned or passed along as the Italian entry in the competition. Swiftly moving ahead, we have
Yeah.
Cleber Mendoza's the Brazilian filmmaker, his third
Yeah.
trip to the Cannes Film Festival. The Secret Agent. This is Wagner Moura, and it's set to 1977, and sort of got a lot of the sort of like the political discourse that Kleber likes to insert into his plotting here. Um,
Yeah.
but essentially, this is falls more into potential political thriller genre. So something that's slightly divergent, even from something like Baccarat. And then we both loved, I think, Ghosts of Pictures or Pictures of
Pictures of Ghosts. Yeah, I love that film. So
We're
great.
big fans of the filmmaker,
Yeah.
and yeah, that's essentially going to be Brazil's entry into the competition.
Mhm. Yeah, I think we had a discussion about whether or not it would be finished in time.
Hmm.
Because it shot last August, I think, something like that. So I'm glad it's done in time, and I'm very excited to see what he does with a film set during the dictatorship years of Brazil. So maybe echoes of the Salas film from last year, who's with the name that's
But yeah,
escaping me.
I'm
Yeah,
still, I'm
yeah, I'm still here. Yeah.
Next up is they didn't pick too many French filmmakers, but it's Dominic Mall, and
Mhm.
anybody who's familiar with his filmography knows that he sort of like was thrown into the scene in Cannes, and then sort of like we lost sight of him until the night of the 12th, which premiered in the Cannes premiere section, and now he's back with Dossier 137 with Leah Drucker. And so it's kind of like a resurgence for this filmmaker. And again, it's there seems to be a heavy drama element to the film, and yeah, just it's nice to see this filmmaker sort of like come back into this sphere.
Yeah, and it seems the competition is pretty. There's a lot of genre this year in
Mhm.
the competition. So like this looks like a genre film. It's about the internal affairs department of a French police department. You know, we have the secret agent, which we just talked about, the two prosecutors, Eddington, which is a genre thing. So kind of interesting. How the way the competition's leaning, and it'll be interesting to see what the additions do to maybe balance that out a bit.
It's called A Simple Accident. And essentially, it's not about a simple accident. It's about a simple accident, but then there's larger consequences. We don't have much more beyond that log line. It's a second
Right.
competition, and it was indeed a French co-production or production. So that explains as to why we heard about the film maybe a month ago. It was probably the French industry probably let it slip that this thing even existed. It's
Hmm.
they film a Palais that's producing this one. I believe David Sion is probably the producer on this, and Jafar has had certain success in Cannes. He won the Camera d'Or. He is perhaps best known for Crimson Gold, at least in my books, and yeah, so it'll be interesting to see what kind of a narrative is given to this film in terms of the filmmaker himself, who's probably still in Iran, uh, still under house arrest to some level. So
Hmm.
this will come with a lot of buzz, pre-buzz, just based on all these circumstances.
Yeah, yeah, and I think I think if anything, it'll be inspiring that he got a film finished and out. So yeah, it's nice to see that in the lineup.
And as a reminder, Juliette Binoche is the head juror. The jury hasn't been identified as of today, but that comes closer to sensibility. She's worked with Abbas Kiarostami in the past, so it's something to keep in mind when we
Yeah.
try to figure out the horse race for the Palme d'Or. Next up, another American filmmaker. It's the Mastermind. Kelly Reichardt was able to get this film ready in time. It's starring Josh O'Connor, so that's two in the competition. Alana Haim and John Magaro, who was in The First Cow. I think
Yeah.
that's her previous film. No, it's Show and
Oh,
Tell.
and he was in Showing Up as well, I believe.
Yeah, showing up.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, the I get a sense that this could be she's never really had a solid chance at getting awardage, and I feel this might be the title that rises to the top. What are your
Hmm.
feelings on this item?
Yeah, I mean, again, another genre film. It's a heist film. I mean, but that movie is behind it probably speaks to it being pushed into the competition. or even being like sent to Cannes at all. I feel previous years she's just worked with smaller distributors, probably smaller budgets,
Mhm.
uh, which just didn't allow for that kind of journey. But it's nice. I'm excited for this film, probably one of my most anticipated. She's one of my favorite filmmakers. And yeah, another title that sh it shot last fall that we were like, who knows if it'll be ready in time, but she got it done. So very cool.
And again, sticking in genre, this one appears to be the political thriller and a continuation, perhaps a
Mhm.
thematic trilogy. It's Tarek Saleh's Eagles of the Republic with Faris and Linus Kadri. Uh,
Yep.
I'm not sure if you saw Conspiracy Cairo, which sort of was profiled in Cannes. Wasn't necessarily
Oh,
well received, but yeah, essentially another genre item, and that's his third trip in no, this is the second trip to competition, I believe.
right. Yeah, this is another filmmaker where uh, couldn't tell you heads or tails about them, but in a lineup that's very heavy on American and European films, it's nice to see something from elsewhere into the lineup.
Speaking of filmmakers that are sort of like question marks to the masses, is a film that's titled Sound of Falling. I prefer the previous title, and I wrote it down here. It's the doctor says I'll be all right, but I'm really fine, or something like that. I
I'm
meant
feeling blue, but I'm feeling blue.
I'm feeling blue. There you go.
Yeah, yeah.
It's Mascha Schilinski, who this is her sophomore feature, and it's a title that's been buzzed about for a long time, and it really came out of
Yep.
nowhere for me. Essentially, it's built on four characters, four time periods over a century. It's one of many MK2's titles in competition. I believe they're up to half
Yep.
a dozen.
Yeah.
It's really exciting to see new talent. This is a German filmmaker. Have you seen her previous film?
No, no. I don't think many people have.
No.
Yeah, and like yeah, this is one where I also have just been hearing amazing things about it. And the first look image just came out like just before we jumped on this call and looks like the kind of thing that I would just like eat with a spoon, like just give it to me. So I'm really excited for this. I also really hope they go back to the original title because it's so unique and so good.
Yeah,
Sound of Falling sounds like, I don't know, so generic. But I think it's amazing for this filmmaker who's basically coming in like out of everything in the lineup completely off the radar.
yeah.
That's huge, and that speaks to the quality of the film. And probably I can only imagine the programmers had their socks knocked off watching this thing.
And it's worth mentioning that her first feature was selected for the Berlinale, so they probably had a first look, and then beat the Berlinale programmers to the punch.
Mm.
Next up is a filmmaker. Again, it's her first time in competition, first time in Cannes. Spaniard. It's part of a trilogy. Again, a film that takes place in. It's a drama that takes place during the AIDS pandemic, and it's Romeria by Carla Simon, and she won the Golden Bear for Alcaraz.
Yep.
I want to say 4 years back, but I'm probably off with my.
No, you're right. 3 years back.
And so, yeah, it's just she's part of this new wave of fresh female auteurs that are breaking into the competition. And it says a lot about some of the snubs we'll talk about shortly. Uh,
Yeah.
are you anticipating like a crowning achievement in this trilogy?
Oh yeah. I love this filmmaker. Her previous two features are fantastic. So I'm stoked for this one too. This is another one that's high on my list of anticipated titles. Yeah, give it to me.
And finally, we have Sentimental Value, the six feature film, third time in competition for Joaquin Tier, a really recent movie pickup. And
Yep.
he's reteaming with his worst person in the world actress,
Mhm.
Renette. I get a feeling that actually this is a neon title in North America. I have a feeling that that we might be getting something potentially more personal or deeper on this time out.
Yeah, I mean, all of his films are personal in one way or the other. Like they all speak to sort of common anxieties and common fears. But this one will probably have the biggest profile on it of his career, because he's really worked up to this level. Worst Person in the World was huge for
Mhm.
this filmmaker. I mean, this is a film that also has Al Fanning in it,
Yeah.
which might be his first Hollywood actor in a film that he's made. Uh, the stakes are high, and this will be a film that I think among sort of the non-festival people, the non-art house nerds like us who just like pay attention to this, it might be high up there because of Worst Person in the World in terms of anticipation, in terms of attention. So yeah, a lot is on this picture.
And so going back to the potentials for the festival that didn't show up today,
Yep.
at the top of the list, I'm not going to put Terrence Malick, but he's sort of like in a category of his own. We never really know what's the deal with this filmmaker. Are you surprised that we didn't hear anything about him?
No.
Great.
I think like before every can, there's like 3 days of like, oh my God, the film's almost going to be done, and then like it doesn't show up. So whatever. Like Way of the Wind, I'll look forward to watching it in 2042 when it's finally finished.
However, the same can't be said for a film that was in post for a long time, and it's Jim Jarmusch's next
Yeah.
feature. That was a surprise to me, even though he's flirted with Venice. He's sort of been going between two festivals for the past decade plus.
Yeah.
I gotta say, I was surprised that he wasn't there. What is your take on potentially the quality of the film or why it didn't show up?
So I have two theories on this one. One is that uh Thierry didn't want to give it a competition slot and was like, go out of comp with Spike Lee. And Jarmusch was he didn't want to do that.
Mhm.
My other theory is that similar to Higher to Lower, which only got confirmed after the official announcement this morning. Thierry Fromo said the reason he didn't announce it was he was waiting to confirm Denzel Washington appearing at the festival. So maybe this film, he's waiting just to confirm which stars are coming to the film. But the third wrinkle, sorry to go on a tangent, is that it's another movie title, and maybe they just don't have the money to bring so many films to Cannes. It's expensive, so that's it. Could be anything.
I guess we're not surprised that Begone's not there. We're not surprised that Paul Thomas Anderson's not there. We're not
Yep.
surprised that Park Chan-wook's not there. However, there's other filmmakers that are sort of like flirting with the competition section and potentially others,
Yep.
namely Son of Saul director Lazo
Yeah.
Miss. I'm not a big fan of his sophomore feature, so Orphan to me was not necessarily a shoe-in. Um, what's your feeling about that title? There's also the Idiko and Yedi's
Mhm.
title, another Hungarian filmmaker. There's Nadev Lapid.
I
Uh,
mean, there's the big one, Lynn Ramsey, we haven't heard from. Desplechin has a film in the can, again, not in the lineup. Yeah, there's a lot of big auteurs that are just kind of, I guess we're waiting to see where they turn up, you
Same
know?
thing you said for Robin Campillo, who has a film
Mhm.
that I thought would be a shoe-in just based on the fact that it was originally a project by Laurent Cantet. There's
There
Christian
was,
Petzold
yeah, Christian Petzold, Kristen Stewart.
here before. There's Laura Wandel, who's a really promising Belgian filmmaker. I was surprised she
Yeah,
wasn't today. And I think to some degree, Marcus Schlilenzer or Karim Anouz, I think it might be a question of films not being simply just not ready. Uh,
yeah.
from the onset, what are your thoughts about some Palme d'Or contenders if you had to pick? one, two, or three?
Well, I mean, we're let's like throwing darts at a dartboard blindfolded, but I'm gonna do it anyway. Uh the Sound of Falling has to be high in the running, just based on the buzz that everyone's been hearing about the film, like
Hmm.
expectations crazy high. So I'll give that like a good shot, and I'll say maybe the Dardenne. I mean, it's hard to say. Like for me, the last few films have fallen into like it's just something I've seen before, so I'm not. I don't think they're breaking new ground, so it'll be interesting to see what they do here. And you know what? I really hope Alpha rocks and it gets her another palm. That'd be fun.
I like your picks. For me, I think Jafar Pahani
Mm.
is would be my odds-on favorite. I think to some extent Kelly Reichardt, certainly if she reaches for some more dramatic, if the Mastermind tackles some more dramatic elements, I think that could work in its favor, seeing that
Mhm.
everything's in the genre-related uh, sphere. And maybe Renoir. That's my dark horse of the pick.
Oh, nice. I like that.
I'm feeling good about that title. And that's essentially what I think are the best chances. And I also like your Sound of Falling choices.
Yeah.
What else is there to say about the rest of the lineup? I think the Cannes premiere section is always interesting in terms of what films potentially could have been in competition and then sort of get sorted there. I was very surprised to see Kirill Shcherbnikov's The Disappearance of Joseph Mengele to be extracted from that. But then there's so
Yeah.
many genre films or genre thriller elements or historical thriller elements type films that it just got pushed aside. And Kirill has had the fortune of being in competition for like 4 films
Yeah.
in a row. So that sort of makes sense. Are you surprised to any
No,
degree?
I mean everything in Cannes premiere kind of makes sense. The one title I want to talk about quickly is the midnight title "Sons of Neon Night"
Yes.
by Joe Mack. Like
Yeah.
that film went into production in 2017. Like it has been in post. I believe it had like funding issues, like all kinds of crazy things happening. But it has been like so long, almost a decade in like post for this thriller that has an amazing cast. Takeshi Kaneshiro and Sean Lau and Louis Koo, Tony Leung. So I'm kind of stoked on that movie. I want to see like what this, speaking of genre, what this sort of crime thriller, cops and robbers kind of story turns out to be. So
Mhm.
that's my like, yeah, while everyone's watching Nouvelle Vague, I'll be over watching this. So,
And Rebecca Slatowski's
yeah,
VP3, which was sort of like being mentioned in the competition lineup.
yeah.
And that's another filmmaker that's really played well in Cannes. She's been in all the sections. She gets an out of competition section showcase, and
Mhm.
that's a Sony Pictures Classics title. And another one that I thought had a chance at comp is The Magnificent Life by Sylvain Chomet. I thought that he potentially could have a shot in the competition section.
Yeah.
He got a special screenings showcase. So that's 2 films from Sony Pictures Classics that are
Yeah, I think my feeling on both of those titles is they're probably viewed by the festival as more popcorn, like fun and entertaining rather than uh art house Palme d'Or stuff. So
so as we anticipate more selections next week, we have the Kaizen, we have the Director's Fortnight. Do you think that there's going to be a major title announced that will shake up the competition?
Way of the Wind, it's coming back. I don't know, man. Yeah, I mean, there's so much on the table, you know? And typically the editions don't rock the boat too much, but I think it'll be interesting to see what's announced as the closing film,
Good point.
because that could be a top title as well.
And actually, it's worth mentioning before we log off is that
Yeah.
the opening film is a first-time feature by a female filmmaker. It's a feature based on a short, I believe. It's Partir un jour from Amélie Bonin.
Mhm.
In English, it's called Bye Bye, but it's weird seeing a camera door hopeful opening the fest, and I think it says a lot about Série Frémaux' focus towards young female auteurs. I mean, the substance, Coralie Farges' second feature last year, and Capedia, like I mentioned before, it says a lot about harnessing and helping out, giving a great platform to these female filmmakers.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I'm Eric Lavallée. I'm editor-in-chief and site owner for IonCinema.com, and this is
Kevin Jagernauth, contributing writer for the playlist.
and together we are Indie Sponge.